Finding peace in God's presence. Hello, dear friends. Thank you for joining me today. I'm speaking to you from a quiet corner where I've been reflecting on something we all desperately need, but often struggle to find. Peace. Not just any peace, but the profound, unshakable peace that comes from dwelling in God's presence. In our world of constant notifications, endless to-do lists, and 24/7 news cycles, peace can feel like an impossible dream. Perhaps you're watching this while feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or stretched too thin. Maybe you've tried everything: meditation apps, stress management techniques, or even medication, yet true peace still eludes you. Today, I want to share with you about a peace that transcends all understanding, a peace that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances or having everything under control. We're going to explore what it means to find genuine peace in God's presence. In Psalm 46:10, God gives us a profound invitation: "Be still and know that I am God." These words are both a command and a comfort. Notice that God doesn't say, "Figure everything out," or "Fix all your problems." He simply says, "Be still." There's something deeply significant about that. This stillness isn't just about physical quietness, though that can be helpful. It's about a deeper kind of stillness, a settling of our souls, a quieting of our internal chaos. It's about learning to rest in who God is, even when everything around us feels uncertain. The Hebrew word for "be still" in this verse is rapha, which literally means to let go, to release, to surrender. It's an active choice to release our grip on things we can't control and to acknowledge God's sovereignty. This isn't passive resignation, it's active trust. I remember sitting with a woman who had just received a devastating diagnosis. Her world had been turned upside down, and her mind was racing with worst-case scenarios. As we talked, she shared something profound. I realized I had to make a choice. Either I could let my fears consume me, or I could choose to be still and know that He is God. This is the heart of finding peace in God's presence. It's not about denying our struggles or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to anchor ourselves in something, someone greater than our circumstances. The Apostle Paul writes about the peace of God which transcends all understanding. Philippians 4:7. This peace isn't logical by human standards. It doesn't always make sense. How can we be at peace when everything seems to be falling apart? How can we find calm in the midst of chaos? The answer lies in understanding that true peace isn't the absence of trouble, but the presence of God. Jesus Himself promised, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." John 14:27. The peace Jesus offers is different from what the world offers because it's not dependent on external circumstances. Think about Jesus sleeping in the boat during the storm. Mark 4:35-41. The disciples were panicking, but Jesus was at perfect peace. Why? Because He knew who was in control. His peace came from His relationship with the Father, not from favorable weather conditions. But let's be honest, this kind of peace doesn't usually come naturally to us. We're more like the disciples, frantically trying to bail water out of our boats while the storms of life rage around us. How do we move from panic to peace? How do we learn to rest in God's presence? Let me suggest several practical ways to cultivate this peace. First, we need to create space for stillness. This might mean setting aside specific times each day to be alone with God. It doesn't have to be long. Even 5 minutes of focused attention on God's presence can begin to shift our perspective. Second, we need to feed our minds with truth. The psalmist wrote, "Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing can make them stumble." Psalm 119, 165. When we fill our minds with God's Word, it becomes an anchor in turbulent times. Third, we need to practice surrender. This means regularly opening our hands to God, symbolically and literally letting go of what we're trying to control. It's saying, "Lord, I trust you with this situation, this person, this outcome." Fourth, we need to learn to recognize God's presence in our daily lives. He's not just in church buildings or during devotional times. He's present in the ordinary moments, in the mundane tasks, in the quiet spaces between our activities. One practice that can help with this is what some call breath prayers, short prayers that can be prayed in rhythm with our breathing. For example, breathing in while thinking, "Be still," and breathing out while thinking, "And know that I am God." This can help us stay connected to God's presence throughout our day. But what about when peace seems impossible? What about when anxiety overwhelms us? When fear grips our hearts? When circumstances seem too difficult to bear? This is where community becomes crucial. Sometimes we need others to remind us of God's faithfulness when we can't see it ourselves. Sometimes we need to borrow peace from those who have walked similar paths before us. I think of David in the Psalms, honestly expressing his fears and doubts, yet consistently returning to trust in God. He models for us that finding peace isn't about never feeling afraid or anxious. It's about knowing where to turn with those feelings. There's also something powerful about practicing gratitude, even in difficult times. When we intentionally notice and thank God for His presence and provision, it helps shift our focus from our problems to His faithfulness. Some of you might be thinking, "But you don't understand my situation. How can I find peace when my circumstances are so challenging?" I want to acknowledge that some situations are genuinely overwhelming. Sometimes we need professional help to deal with anxiety or trauma, and that's okay. Seeking such help isn't a lack of faith. It can be an act of wise stewardship of our mental and emotional health. Yet even in these situations, God's presence remains our ultimate source of peace. He may use various means, counseling, medication, support groups, to help us experience that peace, but He remains the source. Remember that finding peace in God's presence is often a journey rather than a destination. There might be days when peace feels distant, when being still seems impossible. That's okay. God's peace isn't earned by our perfect performance. It's received as we turn to Him again and again. Sometimes peace comes like a sudden calm after a storm. Other times, it's more like the slow melting of winter into spring. Gradual, almost imperceptible, but real nonetheless. Both are valid experiences of God's peace. Let me share a practice that many have found helpful. The PEACE acronym. P. Pause and step back from the situation. E. Enter God's presence through prayer. A. Acknowledge your feelings honestly to God. C. Cast your cares on Him. E. Embrace His peace even before circumstances change. This simple framework can help us move from anxiety to peace, from chaos to calm, from fear to faith. As we begin to wrap up our time together, I want to speak directly to those who feel far from peace right now. Perhaps you're in the midst of a storm that seems endless. Perhaps anxiety has been your constant companion for so long you can't imagine life without it. Know this: God's invitation to peace still stands. His presence is still available. His promise is still true. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. This doesn't mean your circumstances will immediately change, but it does mean you can experience a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A peace that comes from knowing who God is and that He is with you. Dear friends, whatever situation you're facing today, I pray that you'll accept God's invitation to be still and know. Know that He is God. Know that He is present. Know that His peace is available to you. May you discover, perhaps to your surprise, that even in life's storms, there is a peace that passes understanding. A peace that can guard your heart and mind. A peace that comes not from having everything under control, but from knowing the one who holds everything in His hands. Until next time, may you experience the deep, sustaining peace that comes from dwelling in God's presence. May you find rest for your soul in Him, and may His peace become your strength for whatever lies ahead. Remember, true peace isn't found in the absence of conflict, but in the presence of God. And that presence is available to you right now, wherever you are. God bless you, dear friends. Thank you for sharing this time with me.